Thanks, David. That's right. We're going to interview the candidates for executive president now, starting with Ryan Budden, who is a sophomore. He's a double major in psychology and entrepreneurship. He's originally from Melbourne, Australia. He was the freshman class president last year and is currently sophomore class president. So Ryan, thank you for joining us tonight. The first question I wanted to ask for you is, you're a rising junior, and all of the other candidates are rising seniors. They've had one more year of experience on this campus. How are you going to make up for that year of experience that they have that you don't have?
Okay, well, I feel like as far as SGA goes, I jumped on the gun in the very beginning, so I don't feel that I'm lacking experience at all as SGA. I was the freshman class president, and I am the sophomore class president, as well as I've headed a history committee on Elon, and I've also, in my short time here, I've started the wrestling club, which is, anyone that loves wrestling, you should definitely come out to it. But I feel like I started early, and for that reason I'm not really behind. Also, being older isn't necessarily an advantage. It may mean that they know their grade more, but I definitely know the grade younger than me just because I'm closer to them. So I see it as an advantage and a disadvantage, and something that I definitely would choose to capitalize upon.
Okay. And one of the things you talked about in your speech tonight was Aramark and improving healthier options in the dining halls. Is that right? That's something that students on this campus have been talking about for years, and they've been made all these different changes to the meal plan. Now they're fighting this meal plan. What are you going to do with the contracts that Aramark is locked into? How are you going to do something different that executives in the past haven't done to change what we already have?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So with the healthier options, I just really believe that it's an easy thing to do. There's an Australian going around the United States right now that's actually revamping the meals that you get at public schools, and I feel like easily bringing something like that to raise awareness about healthy meals and what actually goes into. I know Aramark started putting the calorie intake things on the meals that you're going, and a lot of them are incorrect, and I've started talking to people about that, and the ladies behind the counter will change it if you ask them. But being on SGA, I've really gotten experience with Aramark comes in and speaks to us. I don't know if everybody knows that, but they actually ask for our opinion. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I've already established a relationship that not a lot of people have necessarily been able to establish, and because of that, I am able to enter in a conversation with a representative from Aramark in a lot easier of an aspect than most people have been able to in the past. Well,
thank you so much for answering my questions, and thank you for being here tonight. We're going to go to Monica Yantosh right now, who is going to talk with Alicia Johnson.
Alicia Johnson's a junior strategic communications major with a minor in political science. She's from Baltimore, Maryland, and has served on SGA for 1 year as organizational council liaison and multicultural center senator. Thanks for joining me, Alicia. How are you doing tonight?
Nice to be with you. Great.
All right. Well, every year the presidential candidates talk about how they want to increase the dialogue between students and SGA. How are you going to do something different this year that maybe hasn't been done in the past to actually achieve that goal?
I think the first step is stop expecting that everybody should and will come to you without a strong relationship as your foundation. One of the things that I'm aiming to do is actually build up those relationships so that the students trust us enough to come to us with their issues, so that we're not always down on them and coming and speaking to them rather than with them on these subjects. That's anything from going out to organizations' programs, supporting them when they are doing their endeavors, and then that will build into a mutual relationship which will flow with open communication.
Now, I know you also spoke a lot about your leadership experience here on campus. You're very involved. How can you take that to not only help you and your president, but also how are you going to be able to handle your roles in other organizations while also representing the student body?
I think what's interesting about it is a lot of people do know that I have been quite involved outside of SGA on this campus, but I find that when I get to a certain point, I know when it's time to pass down my leadership down to someone else, because that's what they teach us here at Elon. You get to your top, and then you train and you lead other people to take on leadership. I'm a strong believer in it. So a lot of things I have given down to other students to build up their leadership development along the way, and I'm definitely going to instill doing that for the rest of the year.
All right, thank you, Alicia, for joining me.
Thank you.
Back to Sophie now, who joins us with Darian Flowers.
Darian Flowers is a junior from Columbus, Ohio. He's a political science major with a double minor in international studies and public administration. He's also served as class senator for 3 years. Darian, hi. Welcome to the set.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. You talked about transparency as one of your big things. Now, I know that you said you wanted to have a website, video updates, and that's a lot of talking to the students. And then you also said that you wanted to hold office hours in a place that's more accessible to students. but the SGA office is open and students can walk in there wherever they want to. How will these things that you're proposing help the students to talk to you as well as for you to talk to the students?
Well, I think that, by me going into a public place, oftentimes people, quite frankly, do not know that the SGA office is in upstairs mostly. So I'm going to go to an area that's, high traffic and, go and engage students where they are and where they most readily interact. Because one of the things that, we've heard from past SGA administrations is that we want people to come to us and come to Mosley 215 and come to the Senate meetings. But, like I've talked about in my statements, that Elon students are notoriously over-involved. And so the fact is that if I'm going to go and engage them where they are, I have a higher chance and probability of them coming up and speaking with me about anything that they're concerned about happening on campus.
Okay. And one of the other things that you said was you would like to hold students in government positions more accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly how are you going to do that with things that have gone on in the past and what things that might go on in the future?
Well, I think the fact that we and I personally have outlined a very concise and specific judicial manual that our senators have to operate within is a proven track record that we have these processes in place, and the next step is really enforcement and making sure that senators know when they come and become a member of the Senate that it is something that it's a full-time commitment and that it is one of the highest but most prestigious commitments that you can hold on this campus. And the fact is that we expect a lot out of you, and so do your constituents. So I think the next step is really enforcement of our policies. And I'm not going ahead and saying that we're expecting any problems, but the fact is that we have the processes in place that if we do have any, that we're equipped to deal with them and mitigate any extraneous circumstances so that we can get back to the students' business.
All right, well, thanks again for being here. We're going to go to our last candidate. Last but not least, Monica Yantosh is with Ben Walden. Back to you, Monica.
Thanks, Sophie. Ben Walden is a junior from Atlanta, Georgia. He's a political science major with a communications minor. He has served 1 year as an SGA senator and was the head of the Winter Term Oversight Committee. Thanks for joining me, Ben. So, everyone's been talking tonight about working with other organizations, and you mentioned how you've reached out to other organizations and you really want to improve campus life for every student here. So, what are you going to do this year? What are your goals to make it better for students?
Basically, just improve communication with the student body. And, as I've gone around campaigning, they've really said, how nice it is to have someone from SGA at their organization talking to them. And one of the things that I've been trying to do is say, let's keep this line of communication open. Let's keep, I want to keep going to other organizations and not just have them come to SGA. As it is right now, only senators can talk in the SGA meetings. But I think, if regular people want to come in, regular students, then, maybe we could have them talk as well because their voice is important too.
Great, and your leadership, you've mentioned a lot about your leadership experience. You talked about that program that you did, the National Outdoor.
Yeah, NOLS, the National Outdoor Leadership School.
How do you think that'll translate into leading the student body here at Elon?
Well, it's an outdoor leadership school, so I did a lot of rock climbing and rafting and that kind of stuff. But the school is really about a lot more than that. They teach you leadership principles that you can translate to basically anything. I learned training there to how to work and improve communication and how to talk to people. And so basically, I'm going to take that training and apply it to my job, hopefully as executive president.
Great, thank you, Ben. Now, only executive candidates are required to give the speech, and all other positions can decide whether or not they want to give a speech. That means that only some of the candidates running gave speeches tonight. Here's a full list of the candidates who will be on the ballot.
President are Ryan Budden, Alicia Johnson, Ben Walden, and Darian Flowers. Liz Burns, Connor O'Connell, and Todd Merriman will be running for Executive Vice President, while Scott Bishoprick will be running unopposed for Executive Treasurer, and Leah Burns will be running unopposed for Executive Secretary.
For senior class officers, Naima Abdullahi and Molly Shoup will be running for President, and Sam Kahane is running for unopposed for senior class Vice President. Kevin Beach is running unopposed for the position of senior class treasurer, and there are currently no candidates for the position of senior class secretary or senior senator. All of the junior class candidates are unopposed, with Sean Patterson for president, Allie Briggs for vice president, and Patrick Brown for treasurer. There are no candidates for junior class secretary at this time. And finally, Joan Corvia, Christopher Giles, and Aaron Von Vreeland are running for sophomore class president. Sarah Paye-Janza is running unopposed for sophomore class vice president. Sierra Martinez, Joe Duncan, and Elizabeth Rue are all running for sophomore class treasurer. Lindsay Freeman will be unopposed for sophomore class secretary, and Jennifer Lauterbach is the only candidate for sophomore class senator at the moment.
All right, voting for SGA elections will take place next week. Voting opens Tuesday, February 21st at 9 a.m. and will end Wednesday, February 22nd at 5 p.m. You can vote online at www.elon.edu/elections. The winners will be announced at 6 p.m. on Wednesday in Mosley 215.
Sam Warren and Rachel Long say a runoff is likely to occur with this election because of the number of candidates running for the position of executive president. A candidate must have 50% of the votes plus 1 vote to win. And if there is no clear winner and a runoff occurs, another round of voting will take place on Thursday, the 24th, from 9 to 5 between the 2 candidates who received the most votes in the first round. Results will be announced later that night. That's all we have for your special coverage of this SGA election. Keep checking our website, Phoenix14News.wordpress.com, for more information about your candidates.
And tune in here Monday at 6 for our regular broadcast. Thank you for watching and have a great weekend. I'm Sophie Nielsen-Colding.
And I'm Monica Antosh. Thanks for joining us, Elon.